The galaxy is on fire. Star systems tremble under the boots of the Ralgrak horde, a ruthless alien empire notorious for their relentless conquests. Their fleets, black as the void, descend upon planets like locusts, leaving destruction in their wake. Their latest victim? Korvax Prime, the crown jewel of the Korvaxian species, a race of brilliant pacifists who thrive on art, knowledge, and harmony. As Korvax Prime's skies burn red under orbital bombardment, a desperate voice echoes across the stars. The Korvaxians broadcast a plea for salvation, a distress signal reaching out to every corner of the galaxy. To any who hear this, we are the Korvaxians. Our world is under siege by the Ralgrak horde. We are a peaceful species, we have no armies, no defenses. We beg for aid. Please, save us. The message travels faster than light, but the galaxy's response is deafening silence. The powerful alien empires, civilizations that could stand against the Ralgrak, turn a blind eye. The Korvaxians are deemed expendable, their fate irrelevant in the political games of the stars. But the signal keeps traveling, and eventually, it reaches a small, blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. On Earth, the transmission crackles to life inside a secret military station buried beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room is silent as the Korvaxian voice pleads for help. High-ranking officials and military leaders exchange glances, knowing this could be humanity's moment to step onto the galactic stage. But there's a problem. Earth's reputation precedes it. A galaxy's fear of humanity. In the wider galaxy, Earth is an enigma. The alien empires know of humans, stories of their brutal wars, nuclear annihilation, and their rise from near extinction have traveled far and wide. Humans are viewed as dangerous, unpredictable, and savage. Unlike other species that evolved in harmony, humans clawed their way to dominance through millennia of bloodshed. The Korvaxians know all of this. They know humanity's violent reputation, but with no other options, they take a gamble. The message is forwarded to the Unified Earth Council, where President Elena Marks watches the broadcast with a grim expression. The council is divided. Some argue that humanity has no obligation to intervene, why risk provoking the Ralgrak? Others see an opportunity, a chance to show the galaxy that Earth is not the barbaric backwater they believe it to be. President Marks makes the decision, Earth will answer the call. Earth's secret fleet. Unbeknownst to the wider galaxy, humanity has been preparing for this day. Tucked away in the asteroid belt and hidden under cloaking fields lies Earth's first interstellar fleet, a collection of warships built in secret over decades. These vessels are a testament to human ingenuity, a blend of advanced alien tech scavenged from past encounters and the creativity born from desperation. The fleet is a gamble, untested in real combat. Its ships are fast and heavily armed but lack the sheer firepower of the Ralgrak. Humanity's only advantage lies in its soldiers, hardened veterans, guerrilla tacticians, and fearless innovators who have spent lifetimes in conflict. The Korvaxians are shocked and Earth responds. Instead of diplomats, they send a single message back. Help is on the way. The decision to fight. As Earth's fleet prepares to launch, the story shifts focus to Captain Darius Kane, a war hero turned reluctant leader. Kane is called out of retirement for this mission, chosen for his experience and unshakable resolve. Haunted by the loss of his family in Earth's last war, Kane has no love for aliens, but he understands the stakes. We don't fight because we're saints, Kane tells his crew as they gather for their mission briefing. We fight because no one else will. The crew of Earth's flagship, the Resolute, reflects humanity's diversity, scientists, engineers, and soldiers, each carrying their own scars. Among them is Lieutenant Arya Cole, a tech genius who dreams of proving Earth's worth to the galaxy, and Sergeant Malik Reyes, a gruff marine who thrives in chaos. Their mission, break through the Ralgrak blockade, liberate Korvax Prime, and show the galaxy that humanity is more than its reputation. Building suspense. As the fleet leaves Earth, tension builds. They are underdogs in every sense, outgunned, outnumbered, and carrying the weight of humanity's reputation. The scene shifts to the Ralgrak forces, where General Vrax, a towering alien warlord, scoffs at the news of Earth's involvement. Humans. The barbarians? Let them come, Vrax growls. They will burn like the rest. But deep within the Korvaxian resistance, hope flickers. The humans may be killers, but they are killers who fight for justice. As the fleet hurtles toward Korvax Prime, the galaxy watches in stunned silence. Humanity has answered the call. And the universe is about to learn why that was their biggest mistake. This part sets up the tension, establishes humanity's underdog status, and hooks the audience with a mix of suspense, action, and emotional stakes. The galaxy's silence was expected. Earth's response, however, was not. When the Korvaxians received the transmission from Earth, they braced for disappointment. Perhaps an apology. Maybe some condolences. What they got instead was a message of defiance. We're coming. It wasn't diplomats who answered, nor scientists seeking a peaceful solution. It was warriors. The kind of people the galaxy had whispered about in fear, the ones alien empires called killers. Humanity had a reputation, after all, one born from centuries of brutal conflict, where survival often meant embracing the darkness within. And now, the killers were coming. A force unlike any other. Humanity's first interstellar fleet wasn't an armada of shining, pristine vessels piloted by clean-cut heroes. It was something far grittier. These were soldiers, mercenaries, ex-special forces operatives, and even rogue agents who had spent their lives in the shadows of conflict. Each one carried their own scars, some physical, others hidden deep within their minds. They were the kind of people who had seen too much, done too much, and now carried the weight of those memories like a badge of honor. Leading them was Captain Darius Kane, a name known and feared across Earth's war zones. Kane had seen the worst humanity had to offer, civil wars, alien incursions, and battles so devastating they left entire continents in ruin. His face was weathered, his voice a low growl, and his eyes carried a quiet fury that could silence a room. Kane hadn't wanted this. After losing his family in Earth's last great war, he had retreated to a quiet life on a forgotten colony. But when the call came, when Earth decided to send its deadliest to face the Ralgrak, Kane knew he couldn't refuse. This isn't about politics, Kane said in the first mission briefing, his voice echoing through the Resolute's war room. This isn't about diplomacy or some grand crusade. It's about showing the galaxy what happens when you push the wrong species too far. The Ragtag Team. Kane's team was a reflection of humanity itself. A mix of brilliance, chaos, and raw determination. Lieutenant Arya Cole, a tactical genius who could hack into alien systems faster than most could draw a weapon. Arya wasn't a soldier by trade but had joined after her brother was killed in one of the galaxy's skirmishes. For her, this wasn't just a mission, it was personal. Sergeant Malik Reyes, a hulking Marine with a quick temper and a love for close-quarters combat. Reyes was the kind of soldier you sent in when negotiations failed, and on this mission, negotiations weren't even on the table. Dr. Evelyn Sharp, a combat medic with nerves of steel, Evelyn had patched up soldiers in the middle of firefights and kept going. She wasn't a killer, but she had no illusions about the brutality of war. Her job was simple, keep the team alive. Jonas Grim Grayson, a sniper whose name was whispered with awe and fear. Grim had a reputation for taking impossible shots, but his true talent was his ability to disappear into the shadows, a ghost on the battlefield. This team, and the dozens of others spread across Earth's fleet, weren't the galaxy's idea of heroes. They weren't polished or noble. They were survivors, fighters, and, above all, human. Embracing the label. The galaxy's elite looked down on humanity, dismissing them as barbarians unfit for interstellar society. But Earth's warriors wore that label proudly. If they want to call us killers, Reyes said with a grim smile, we'll show them why they're right. Kane wasn't interested in the galaxy's opinion. He knew humanity's history, the wars, the atrocities, the unyielding fight for survival. And he knew what the Ralgrak represented, bullies who thought their strength gave them the right to destroy. Bullies don't stop unless you hit back harder, Kane told his crew. And we're the hardest hitters they've ever seen. The plan. The mission was simple in theory but deadly in execution. Humanity's fleet would strike fast and hard, using guerrilla tactics to dismantle the Ralgrak forces on Korvax Prime. The Korvaxians, unarmed and defenseless, would act as guides, providing intelligence on the Horde's movements. But the true battle wouldn't be fought in space. Kane and his team would lead a ground assault, infiltrating the heart of the Ralgrak forces to dismantle their operations from within. Suspense and resolve. As the fleet approached Korvax Prime, tension hung heavy in the air. The Ralgrak forces were massive, thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. Humanity's fleet was smaller, less advanced, and operating on borrowed time. The Korvaxians watched in awe as Earth's soldiers prepared for battle. To the pacifist aliens, these humans were terrifying. But they were also inspiring. For the first time in their history, the Korvaxians saw what it meant to fight back. "You're not what I expected," a Korvaxian elder said to Kane as the fleet readied for combat. "No," Kane replied, strapping on his armor. "We're worse." And with that, the Resolute surged forward, leading humanity's killers into battle. The galaxy had written them off as savages, but now, they would learn what it meant to awaken the wrath of Earth. This part deepens the emotional stakes, builds tension, and sets the stage for the explosive action to come. The Resolute emerged from hyperspace over the shattered remains of Korvax Prime. What had once been a lush, crystalline world now burned beneath a haze of smoke and ash. Kane stood on the ship's bridge, silent as he took in the devastation. Cities were reduced to rubble, forests scorched to the ground, and Korvaxian ships floated in orbit like broken toys. "This is what they do," Kane growled, turning to his team. "They burn, they take, and they break the spirit of everyone they conquer. Not this time." His crew nodded grimly. They had come to fight, and now they were looking at the battlefield. Humanity strikes back. Kane's team touched down on the planet's surface under the cover of darkness. The Ralgrak forces had set up command posts throughout the ruins, patrolling the wreckage like wolves guarding their kill. The humans wasted no time. Their first target was a heavily fortified supply depot that served as the Ralgrak's lifeline. Kane led the assault, his team slipping through the shadows with practiced ease. They moved like phantoms, silent and swift, exploiting every weakness in the alien defenses. Reyes was the first to strike, planting explosives along the depot's perimeter. "Showtime," he whispered, grinning as the charges detonated in a chain reaction of fire and chaos. Before the Ralgrak soldiers could regroup, Arya hacked into their communication systems, broadcasting false orders that sent them scrambling in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, Grim picked off key targets from a distance, his sniper rifle spitting death with surgical precision. When the dust settled, the depot was in flames, its supplies destroyed, and the remaining Ralgrak soldiers fleeing in disarray. Guerrilla tactics. This was only the beginning. Kane's team hit the Ralgrak forces with unrelenting strikes, using tactics no alien had ever seen before. They attacked from unexpected angles, set up ambushes in the ruins, and used psychological warfare to sow confusion. In one operation, Reyes led a diversionary assault, drawing Ralgrak troops into a trap where Kane and Evelyn awaited. As the aliens advanced, they triggered an avalanche of rubble, burying their enemies alive. "They've never fought like this before," Arya said as she analyzed intercepted communications. "They're used to overwhelming their enemies, not being outmaneuvered." "They've never fought us before," Kane replied. Psychological warfare. The humans didn't just fight with weapons, they fought with fear. They left false trails, set traps in abandoned buildings, and broadcast eerie, distorted human voices over the Ralgrak comm channels. "They're calling us the Shadow Killers," Arya reported with a smirk. "Good," Kane said. "Let them be afraid." The Korvaxians, who had hidden in underground shelters, began to emerge. They watched in awe as the humans waged their war. For the first time, they saw hope. The Ralgrak's response. But the Ralgrak were not a force to be underestimated. Word of humanity's resistance reached the upper echelons of their military, and soon, reinforcements arrived. Among them was General Vrax, an elite warlord whose name struck fear across the galaxy. Vrax was no ordinary commander. Standing over 7 feet tall, with a jagged exoskeleton and cold, calculating eyes, he was a living embodiment of the Ralgrak's brutality. Unlike his subordinates, Vrax didn't see humanity as weak or insignificant. He saw them as a worthy challenge, and one he intended to crush. The first clash. Vrax wasted no time. He deployed advanced units equipped with heavier firepower and began fortifying the Ralgrak's positions. When Kane's team struck their next target, a munitions depot, they found themselves outmatched. The firefight was brutal. Explosions lit up the night as Reyes and Evelyn provided cover fire, while Kane and Grimm tried to flank the enemy. But the Ralgrak fought back with unrelenting ferocity, forcing the humans to retreat. "They've adapted," Kane said, grimacing as he patched up a wound. "So will we," Arya replied, her fingers flying across a tablet as she scanned for weaknesses in the Ralgrak's reinforcements. "They brought in General Vrax. He's studying us." "Let him," Kane said, his eyes narrowing. "We'll show him what happens when you back humans into a corner." Suspense and resolve. Vrax was intrigued. The humans were unlike any species he had conquered before. They fought with a cunning and ferocity that reminded him of his own kind, but with an unpredictability that unsettled him. "They're dangerous," Vrax admitted to his second-in-command. "Not because of their weapons, but because of their minds. They think like predators." Kane's team knew they were facing a formidable foe. The Ralgrak were adapting, and now the humans were the ones on the defensive. But even as the odds turned against them, their resolve only hardened. "They think we're killers," Kane said, addressing his team before their next mission. "Let's show them what killers can do when we fight for something bigger than ourselves." The battle for Korvax Prime was far from over. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and hunted by one of the galaxy's most feared warlords. But they were also unbroken, and ready to prove that the galaxy had underestimated Earth's will to fight. This part amps up the action, introduces a powerful antagonist, and sets up a high-stakes confrontation. It keeps the suspense alive while showcasing humanity's grit and ingenuity. The war on Korvax Prime raged on. Kane's team had struck fear into the Ralgrak, but the fight was far from over. Each victory was followed by a harsher counterattack, and as the battle escalated, the Korvaxians watched in silence. They had been told that humanity was a brutal species, defined by its wars and violent history. But now, as they observed Earth's warriors, the Korvaxians began to question their own decision. The Korvaxians' doubts. As Kane's team continued to sabotage Ralgrak's supply lines, the Korvaxians withdrew further into their underground shelters, watching the humans with mixed feelings. They had always considered themselves a peaceful people, studying the stars but never engaging in warfare. The arrival of the humans had been their last hope, a desperate plea to save their world from annihilation. But the more they saw of humanity's methods, the more uneasy they became. "Are they any different from the Ralgrak?" a Korvaxian leader asked one evening, his eyes troubled. "The humans kill without hesitation. How can we trust them?" The Korvaxians had learned of Earth's brutal history, centuries of wars, the near extinction of their own species through nuclear holocausts, and their ability to fight back from the edge of destruction. To the Korvaxians, it seemed as though the humans had been forged in violence, living in a cycle of destruction and rebuilding. It was a terrifying thought. But just as doubt began to cloud their hearts, a new revelation unfolded. The humans' secret weapon, compassion. It wasn't long before Kane and his team made a surprising move. They didn't just fight, they began to train the Korvaxian rebels. They taught them guerrilla warfare tactics, survival skills, and how to resist the Ralgrak's overwhelming might. But there was something else in the way they worked with the Korvaxians, a shared sense of camaraderie. They didn't view the Korvaxians as victims or pawns in their own war, they treated them as equals, as allies. "We fight for freedom," Kane told a group of Korvaxian rebels one night, as they gathered around a flickering campfire. "Not just for our own kind, but for everyone who's been oppressed. That's why we fight. For the future, not just our own." At first, the Korvaxians were unsure. They had always believed that war and violence were tools of the tyrants, the Ralgrak, the conquerors. But as they trained alongside humans, something began to shift. The Korvaxians started to see the humans for what they truly were, a species capable of great destruction, yes, but also capable of immense compassion and protection. It was in the way the humans fought. They fought not for domination, not for power, but for the liberation of those they had never even met. The humans' capacity for mercy, for standing up for others even in the face of certain death, made the Korvaxians realize something profound: humanity was not just a species of killers. They were also protectors. Kane's story, the heart of the warrior. One evening, as the team sat in the shadow of a crumbled temple, Kane gathered the Korvaxian rebels around him. His face was weary, his eyes shadowed by the weight of the countless lives lost. The time had come to show them what drove him, what drove humanity to keep fighting, even when the odds were stacked against them. "I wasn't always like this," Kane began, his voice low but steady. "I was a soldier, yes. But before that, I was a son, a brother. I lost my family in one of Earth's many wars. We fought over resources, over land, stupid things, things that seem so small now." The Korvaxians listened intently. They had only ever heard about humanity's wars, the violence that had scarred the Earth. But here, before them, was the real face of war, a man who had lost everything. "After I lost them, I became a killer," Kane continued. "I thought if I could destroy enough of the enemy, if I could avenge my family, maybe it would bring me peace. But I was wrong. I realized that the more I fought, the more I became like the very monsters I was trying to stop." He paused, his expression hardening. "But then something changed. I met people who showed me a different way. They showed me that even in the darkest moments, we can choose to protect, to fight for something greater than ourselves. That's when I realized, a warrior can value peace. And a killer can still protect." The Korvaxians sat in silence, digesting his words. The idea that a warrior could fight for peace, that someone who had been shaped by violence could choose compassion, was an idea foreign to them. But as Kane spoke, something stirred in their hearts. The humans weren't just fighting because they had to, they were fighting because they chose to. They chose to be better. Inspiring the Korvaxians to fight. Over the next few weeks, the Korvaxian resistance began to change. They trained harder, fought with more conviction, and, most importantly, they began to believe that they, too, could win this war. Inspired by the humans' resolve, the Korvaxians joined the fight in full force. Their pacifist nature began to shift as they embraced their own inner strength. They learned that sometimes the greatest weapon in war isn't firepower or tactics, it's the ability to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And humanity had taught them that lesson. The moment of unity. In a pivotal moment, as the battle against the Ralgrak escalated, the Korvaxians took their first stand against the invaders. Side by side with the humans, they launched a coordinated strike that sent shockwaves through the Ralgrak forces. The invaders, who had expected an easy conquest, were now facing a united front, one that fought not out of rage or hatred, but out of a shared belief in the value of life, in the right to freedom. "This is who we are," Kane said, looking to his team. "We may have been born killers, but we choose to be protectors now. And no one, will ever make us feel ashamed of that." The Ralgrak would soon learn that they had underestimated the power of compassion, a weapon that would ultimately change the course of the war. Humanity had shown the Korvaxians the true meaning of strength, not in domination, but in liberation. This part deepens the emotional core of the story, showing how humanity's darkest history and most brutal traits have shaped them into fierce protectors. It emphasizes the idea that even killers can choose compassion, and that sometimes the greatest weapon is love and empathy. The battle for Korvax Prime was finally over. The once mighty Ralgrak horde, whose warriors had been unstoppable across the galaxy, were forced into retreat. Their plans of conquest had been thwarted by a group of humans, considered by many to be little more than violent, unrefined killers. But these killers had proven their worth in a way no one could ignore. The Ralgrak's defeat. As the Ralgrak forces scattered across the galaxy, the Korvaxians celebrated their hard-won freedom. The planet, which had been teetering on the edge of annihilation, now stood free from the grip of the invaders. The skies of Korvax Prime, once dark with the shadows of enemy ships, were now bright with the light of victory. However, the victory was bittersweet. The scars of war were deep, and much of Korvax Prime had been reduced to rubble. Cities lay in ruins, and the survivors, though grateful, now faced the daunting task of rebuilding. But the Korvaxians had something now that they hadn't before: strength. They had learned from their human allies that sometimes, the will to survive comes not from peaceful negotiation, but from the willingness to fight and defend. The humans, having completed their mission, prepared to depart. Their work on Korvax Prime was done. But the impact they had left behind was undeniable. The Korvaxians, once a species that valued intellect and pacifism above all else, now understood the importance of balance. Strength, tempered with compassion, was the key to survival in a galaxy full of predators. The lasting change. As Captain Darius Kane and his team made their final preparations to leave, the Korvaxian leaders came to say their farewells. It was an awkward moment. The once pacifist species who had feared violence now stood beside the humans, their eyes filled with gratitude and newfound respect. "We did not understand you at first," a Korvaxian elder said, bowing slightly in respect. "But now we see. You have taught us what it means to protect, not just to destroy. We will rebuild this world in your image, strong, but compassionate. We are forever in your debt." Kane nodded grimly, his eyes scanning the battle-torn planet one last time. He didn't seek their thanks, but he appreciated the sentiment. He knew that humanity's legacy on Korvax Prime was more than just a military victory, it was a shift in perspective. The Korvaxians would rebuild, yes, but they would do so with strength in their hearts, ready to defend their world if necessary. The galaxy's new reality. As Kane's team boarded their ships and prepared to depart, the eyes of the galaxy turned toward Earth. News of the humans' role in the victory on Korvax Prime spread across the stars. What had begun as a mission to save a planet had turned into a message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity, once viewed as barbaric and dangerous, had emerged as a force to be reckoned with. Other alien species began to reconsider their views on humans. The once dreaded killers were now seen as protectors, fierce warriors, yes, but also saviors. Those who had once called Earth a backwater world of conflict now saw a species that, despite its violent history, could rise to the occasion when others faltered. Humans had been underestimated, dismissed, and feared, but now they were respected. The Ralgrak, once the dominant force in the galaxy, had learned this lesson the hard way: never underestimate humanity. The same species that had once torn itself apart in endless wars had also shown the galaxy that it had the strength to protect, to stand against tyranny, and to answer the call when no one else would. Kane's reflection. As the final shuttle departed, Kane stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out into the vast expanse of space. The stars shimmered against the blackness of the void, silent witnesses to the battles fought and won. His thoughts drifted to the Korvaxians, how far they had come, how much they had learned. He was proud of them, proud of humanity. They had not only defeated an enemy, they had shown the galaxy the truth about themselves. "We may be killers," Kane muttered under his breath, his hand resting on the cool surface of the control panel. "But we fight for something more. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves." He knew that humanity's reputation would never completely escape its violent past. There would always be those who feared them, who saw the scars of their history as something unredeemable. But now, the galaxy knew the truth: when all hope was lost, when others faltered, the humans were the ones who answered the call. They didn't fight for glory or conquest, they fought because they believed in something greater than themselves. End scene, a new era. As the humans departed Korvax Prime, the planet now a symbol of resilience, they left behind a legacy that would resonate across the galaxy for generations to come. The Korvaxians would rebuild their world, not in fear of their enemies, but with a newfound strength, tempered by the lessons of their human allies. The humans had shown them that in a galaxy full of predators, it was the ability to protect that truly defined strength. And for Captain Darius Kane, as he watched the stars pass by his ship, he knew this was just the beginning. The universe had learned a valuable lesson: humanity was not just a killer species, it was a protector, a fierce ally to those who needed it most. And that reputation would carry forward, ensuring that Earth's legacy would be one of strength, compassion, and justice for years to come. "No one will ever forget what we did here," Kane said softly, staring into the stars. "And that's the way it should be." The end.